Alright, everybody, from that intro, you might know something different. Video night has ended. We are now Video Night Beyond. What is that? What is Video Night Beyond? Let me explain to you real quick. Over the years, we have done some sci-fi fantasy movies, genre type stuff on the show, but just only a smattering. This is to go back all the way to 1980. I figured, well, it was originally supposed to be for the 40th anniversary, but we kind of got delayed. 1980 up until now. We grab a handful of movies from each year to discuss, and Andrew is no longer part of the show. He'll come in as a guest star every once in a while, but you know my new co-host from some other shows that he's sat in on. John, say hello to everybody.
Hello to everybody.
All right there. John has been doing some episodes with us over on Video Night over the years. We did the James Bond special, the Star Trek run, the Godzilla stuff. So I figured you're the best guy to handle some of the more heady. Not everything we're going to be doing is like the mainstream stuff. This is more the stuff that's a little more challenging usually. Well, we got a couple weirdo ones in this episode, but
in some cases, yeah.
Yeah. I'll say this. We were going to do Final Countdown until I was bored out of my fucking mind, and there's hardly any actual sci-fi in it, so I said, forget about it. It's not a bad film. I'm just bored. What are the three films we're going to be discussing this episode, John?
We got Altered States, Battle Beyond the Stars, and Saturn 3.
Yay! One great, one fun, one and not the ones you expect. Let's start off with the most challenging, I think, of all three of them is Altered States. One I had heard legends of, I had seen clips of, I had never watched until this time.
Yeah, I was actually looking forward to this one, partially because this was something I had asked Andrew for what did we just watch? Because I'd heard about this film, heard it was weird, and he kind of just said, it's not weird enough.
It's weird, and, but I mean, yeah, I don't...
Well, it's like, yeah, if you know Andrew, his level for what is quote-unquote weird enough is different from everybody else's.
Yes.
So I was kind of going, okay, he's just, I'm going to go into this film, it's going to be weird, I'm going to be like, dude, he should have done it. Actually, I have to give it to Andrew. This wasn't weird enough.
Yeah, I was a little disappointed.
Boring.
Yeah, I heard it was a very troubled production, bouncing around with writers and directors, and it finally got going, and it was very expensive. Warner Brothers was aiming everything on it for a big Christmas 80 release, and it only made what it costs. And I think a lot of the problem is it has good ideas, slow execution, and a lot of it has to do with Ken Russell. Ken Russell is an art director. He does these very complicated sexual, romantic thriller kind of stuff. I don't really know if he's designed for this type of movie.
Yeah, one of the things about this is it's a very quote-unquote grown-up movie in as much as they start talking about stuff, very, heady ideas, and they don't explain it. So they trust that either you understand it or you can figure it out through context clues.
I had to go Wikipedia. I had to look up the plot because I lost somewhere along the way what was going on, what the main point was.
Yeah, and that's kind of the biggest problem with this is the plot does not make sense in as much as it, it's like, okay, the guy, William Hurt's character is looking for is like he's trying to work on the mind and how we are genetic memories and things like that, and he's doing this through like psychological tests and taking psychedelic drugs and things like and stuff like that, which fine, what they wanted, Ken Russell does these trippy moments, awesome, but it's more kind of like just kind of watching Ken Russell jerk off and say like, look at how crazy I'm getting, and it's more pretentious than even arty or interesting.
Right, and not all the characters themselves just really aren't that interesting. The actors are fine, but the material they're given, it's just murky and blah, and It should. I guess this is still in the whole 70s style of filmmaking. It hasn't discovered pop filmmaking where it moves a little faster and is a little more exciting. And I think that's a big problem.
Yeah, because especially with this film is, it has these body horror moments near the end, and that's where I was waiting for that. I was expecting that to be a lot more of a point in this film, and it's like in the back third of it, pretty much, is all of a sudden, oh yeah, he de-evolves into an ape man, and then a blob, and then they try to rip off 2001, and it just kind of like he starts going, I don't know what I'm seeing here.
Yeah, it's all about him trying to experiment with, trying to figure out why schizophrenia, if you think psychedelics and isolation, stuff like that can, fix the mind. And I kept thinking that the whole movie was just going to be this psychological trip that he was on, that he wasn't actually turning into a caveman, and he wasn't transforming. That was all in his head. But then there's the killings. And you're like, well, was he crazy while he did that, or did he actually transform? That part's interesting because you're trying to figure out the mystery. I bet you this played really, really well at midnight movies, and people were dropping acid, getting high, watching it.
Yeah, again, you time your drugs for the trippy stuff at the last 20 minutes of the film.
Yeah.
But it's, again, the biggest problem is it's just, it turns into nonsense.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. How does he even transform? I really don't understand. The drugs, they talk about, this ancient plant and this creature and whatever. None of it adds up to, actual transformation. It's not a magic movie.
Yeah, my fiancée Heather got really pissed off because I was starting to watch this around the time she was trying to go to sleep, and she ended up staying up for a while and just went, this is stupid. And although I will say this, my cat got very invested in the film once they moved to Mexico.
Oh wow!
All that stuff really, really caught my cat's fancy. She was just staring at it and so interested. Me, I was kind of
Yeah, I think this is the first movie to ever use air bladder effects, which would be just everywhere during the 80s.
Yeah, probably. I can't think of anything prior to that. And I mean, what American Werewolf is? What, 81?
Yeah, Howling and American Werewolf are the next two to use bladder effects, and they're the next year.
Yeah, so I mean, it's like I said, the body horror stuff when William Hurt's transforming, that stuff's really interesting and cool, and I liked it. Yeah. It's just, he, like I said, he turns into the Blob Man, and that's uninteresting. And then the almost like I don't even know what to say in the very last little horror moment where it's like, oh, I'm no longer an isolation tank. I'm just now de-evolving, and I'm setting my wife on fire or something. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, I still thought the movie was entertaining. It's just, like you said, the first half you gotta have patience with. But it is really innovative. If it's the kind of thing that you're interested in, I would watch it. I would say our next movie is so mainstream. It's from a low-budget company who had bigger ideas than they had money, and that's Battle Beyond the Stars, which I'm going to tell you right now, it doesn't look any bigger than like an episode of Battlestar Galactica or Buck Rogers. It's so stage-bound and low-budget, but I admire what it's trying to do. It's a fun movie.
Well, what's funny is I actually think it looks better than its budget really is.
Yeah, well, $2 million is a shock when you think about it.
Yeah, for $2 million, it looks good. I mean, the worst thing you can say is within the special effects, like the very stilted, spaceship battles in this.
Yeah.
That's probably the worst you can say, because everything else, like the makeup effects are good. The actual design of the spaceships is good.
Very interesting. Stuff that I've never... Like, one looks just like two penises slapped together. It's really strange. But the illuminated ship is really neat. A lot of it is just unique. They have a little bit of Star Wars flavor, but they're clearly going after a Western. I mean, this is a remake of basically Seven Samurai Magnificent Seven.
Yeah, I was actually thinking about that. Like, yeah, it's Seven Samurai, it's Magnificent Seven. If you have no idea what those movies are... It's a serious version of Three Amigos with a lot more people. Or if you don't know what Three Amigos is, and shame on you for not knowing any of these 3 films. It's A Bug's Life.
It's Galaxy Quest. Yeah, it's a form that's used over and over.
But yeah, John Sayles just basically wrote just wrote Magnificent Seven, but in space.
God, I love John Sayles though. He found a way to make these cheap nothing movies so entertaining. I think the first one he really did was Piranha. Then he did The Howling, and there's Alligator in there somewhere. This. He wrote Mimic, Jurassic Park 3. I'm trying to remember. It's just like a handful. He'll do the genre film so it pays for his independent movies, which is so brilliant.
Yeah, and this is also, all those special effects we mentioned were done by James Cameron.
Yeah, very unique design, and I think they're kind of convincing. I mean, especially at the time when you watch these movies, it can't afford Star Wars level special effects, like you said, during the fight sequences, but still pretty good.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is like, I mean, the cast, basically most of that $2 million went to, who was it? George Peppard and Robert Vaughn.
Right. Well, and
pretty much.
Richard Thomas at the time was a name because he was. I think we're like 5 or 6 seasons in on the Waltons by this point.
Yeah, and you also had John Saxon as the villain.
Yeah, I love John Saxon. He was like the king of trashy films.
What's funny is I always think of John Saxon, of course, as the father from Nightmare on Elm Street, and for some reason, in my head, he sounds a lot different in this movie than he does in like 3 years in the future.
Oh wow, it sounds the same to me. But what's funny is this, I think to this day, still the most expensive movie that Roger Corman has ever done. $2 million. That was 40-something years ago, and he reused the special effects and the score over and over and over for the next decade.
Well, yeah, I mean it's early James Horner score. That man has recycled a lot of his music, just in general.
I never realized it until I was listening to him on Spotify, and I was like, wait, that's the same hook from Battle Beyond the Stars. What the hell?
But, yeah, this is a film that I had seen, God, I want to say 25 years ago, something like that. It's been a long time since I've seen it, and just watching it again just made me so happy, because I remember liking it years and years ago, and just now, it's silly. Don't get me wrong. This is a silly movie, but I think this is, of the 3 that we watched, I think this is I had the most fun with this one.
I've seen this one numerous times. I never saw it as a kid. Apparently it was a big hit for $2 million, but for Roger Corman, I have no idea. Oh, it's a $7.5 million. That's not a big hit. But I guess for Corman, that's decent size. But, I didn't discover until video around the year 2000 when they re-released them on VHS, and Leonard Maltin was like the opening host. He would interview Roger Corman about like 5 minutes of, what was it like making this movie? This is before like DVDs really started adding special features, and I thought that was so cool. And I revisit this. It's not my favorite of the Roger Corman years. I think it's Rock and Roll High School is probably my favorite, but it's a blast. It's better than most of his stuff. It's not trashy at all.
No, it really kind of feels, I mean, again, as we said, it's basically just a remake of another film, but even for cashing in on Star Wars, it doesn't feel crass. It's not like Ice Pirates or some of these other movies.
Or what's the one that he used? He used all the same sets and music for Space Raiders. Star Raiders? Space Raiders, I think, if you've ever seen that one.
I've never seen that one.
Yeah, it's a really kiddie movie with the same exact sets. He made it for so cheap because he just said, well, I already have it sitting in warehouses. Let's do it again.
Yeah, but this does not feel crass. This does feel like everybody tried.
Yeah.
Everyone had everyone's game, and they're having fun, and they wanted to make the best movie that they could, as opposed to, again, let's just schlep something out, put a title on it, and make a couple of bucks.
Yeah, and this is where Bill Paxton met James Cameron, because he was putting the sets together for him.
Yeah, I want to say he's also in the movie somewhere, but I might be wrong.
Oh my God, I'm looking at this now. Go ahead.
Yeah, I remember reading that, but I also thought that they said something about they threw like makeup on him or something like that, so he's like in a shot or something like that too.
It says here that the Starship footage was reused in Space Raiders, which I mentioned before, but also Star Quest 2, Vampirella, The Fantastic Four, Dead Space, and Forbidden World. Some of these movies were 15 years later. Good Lord.
Now I'm going to have to watch Fantastic Four, because I want to know what they use.
Well, we're talking that Roger Corman one, though, for like 94, 95.
Oh, yeah. No, I know what you meant.
Okay. Man, he really did rake in the money instantly. He sold it, not only to the box office, but he sold it for foreign distribution to Orion for $2.5 million and sold the cable rights to HBO for $750,000. That dude knew how to make some money.
Well, that was basically what Corman did.
Yeah.
Make it cheap, sell it for as much as he could.
It's kind of the end for him, though. He's only got a couple more years where he's really making like these interesting low-budget movies. The minute he decided that he had to go straight to video with everything is when it went to shit. Everybody talks about how great he was. It's like, no, he just knew how to hire the right people. That's it.
Yeah, he is the person who, like Troma, knew how to find the right kind of talent for his project, for their projects. And, it's like so many great people came out of both of these studios, even though some of these films that they've made are some of the trashiest garbage
Totally.
ever.
Yeah. So our final film is one that I kind of slipped in at the last minute because I don't think it's a good movie, but it's an interesting movie. It's simultaneously outrageous and boring, and just I don't know how to explain Saturn 3.
Dude, this movie looked like, again, especially in comparison to Battle Beyond the Stars, this movie looked cheap as shit.
Really? I thought the sets were really well done in some of the special effects, but mind you, it was a $10 million movie, and $1 million of it went to that fucking weirdo robot.
Well, that's the thing. The robot looks pretty good. That's a pretty decent suit. It's just everything else. Again, I felt the sets are way too sparse and open. And granted, it's supposed to be like it's a bio facility.
Right.
They're doing plants and stuff like that. So, granted, there's a lot of open areas, but even so, Kirk Douglas's bedroom is, it's the smallest set imaginable for this guy's living space.
True, that is weird. There's only two people up there, and he should have a bedroom that's the size of a fucking luxury hotel.
Well, not even that. It seems like it's almost like a studio apartment inside there at times, given how close they are in the shooting in that. It's like, especially in that bedroom, especially where we got a lot of time with him and Farrah Fawcett, and just everything's so close, so tightly.
The one thing that interests me about this movie is that it's a hodgepodge movie. It's another one that had a very troubled production, and there are times when this feels like it was directed by 4 different people. Did you feel that at all? It was so schizophrenic in its flow.
Yeah, it never felt like it knew what it wanted to do or where it wanted to go at any point. And it's like, not like there's a mystery. It's just, Harvey Keitel kills a guy and takes his place, and then is very rapey on Farrah Fawcett. He's like, total creeper. But that seems to, that's gonna be his thing. Is crazy guy brought a robot, and he's going to go and try and kill everybody, and he's a loon. But then it's no, the robot has his brain patterns, and the robot becomes horny, and where's his face? And where's Harvey Keitel's face at one point?
That's a horrifying moment, truly horrifying.
Oh yeah, it's just like, what is he's like, what is going on?
Yeah, it's like someone had seen how much Alien had made the year before and said, let's do our own sci-fi movie. And they had this thing where it kind of fit it, but then they added all the sequences with the robot to it. It just feels very all over the place. But there's some really interesting stuff in it. I mean, it starts off like a really cool horror movie when the guy gets sucked out into the air, whatever, and then gets all sliced up. You're like, that's a holy shit, wake up, I'm paying attention moment. But then it just stops, what seems like for fucking ever, to get going again. And you meet Harvey Keitel, who has a weird dubbed voice because it sounds like Harvey Keitel, but it's not Harvey Keitel. It's so close, but it has kind of an upper class British feel to it. Can't remember the actor. He was in the Beauty and the Beast TV show. What the fuck was his name? I can't remember.
Are you talking about Ron Perlman?
No. The older guy, the older British man that would help him. I haven't seen the show in forever.
No, I don't know. That's
it's right here.
Hamilton and
Roy Dutrice. Look up Roy Dutrice. You'll recognize him. He's in a bunch of stuff. He was basically his father figure in Beauty and the Beast. While he looks that up, I'll say that this clearly feels like a movie that was meant for bigger stars, and as it just kept getting whittled down, that they kept going, well, we can't get this person, we're going to end up with Farrah Fawcett and Kirk Douglas. Kirk Douglas way past his prime, and Farrah Fawcett never established as, like a legit actress.
Yeah, although we did get to see her boobs, and that's cool.
I think she's pretty terrible in this. Kirk Douglas is kind of wacko in this. I think his performance is pretty entertaining because I don't know what's going on in his head. He seems like a goofball.
Well, it really does feel like those two are totally insane. Like, they've been isolated for so long that it's just what would have been more interesting is if they killed Harvey Keitel and, basically they were the mad people.
Right, that would be interesting.
Much more
yeah, if they flipped it on him, like he's just sexually aggressive and he had this crazy robot, but what if they turn out to be lunatics and then they're on the run? That would be more interesting, I think.
Yeah, I mean, what's kind of funny is this movie, I should say the film Virus from 99, I think it was.
Oh, Jesus, the only movie I've ever went to that I want my money back.
Does this film better than this film does with its last... how this film's last third is effectively the robot is going to, I guess, take over Kirk Douglas's brain, download itself into a human body, and effectively, I think Virus did that concept better.
Go ahead.
And I like Virus. I think it's a shitty movie, but I enjoy it for its terribleness.
Yeah, it's going to come up. It's going to come up eventually. I don't know, whatever. I should have known better. Any movie that's usually like, hey, this is supposed to come out in August, we're delaying it till January. You should fucking know. I was too ignorant back then.
Yeah.
But we have Harvey Keitel in this, and he gets taken out halfway through. Spoilers, everybody. But he still gives an interesting performance. I guess on Earth, or wherever the world is right now, is that you aren't in relationships, you aren't married, you aren't committed to anybody. It's like basically free love, society. So when he's thrown off by the fact, he literally says, "Can I use your body?" Which is fucking...
Yeah, this is such a bizarre movie in, like, every way, like, with character relationships and stuff like that. And you just kind of... You get a little skeeved out at every moment because, like, especially even the relationship between Farrah Fawcett and Kirk Douglas just seems so skeevy,
right? She seems like she's a dim bulb, and he's taking advantage of her, like an aggressive older man. I felt sorry for her.
Yeah, I know the movie is just like all kinds of wrong. But I'll say this, at least I wasn't entirely bored. I was just kind of like, this movie is not good.
Yeah, it's fascinating, I think, in its incompetence and weirdness, but at the same time, like, beautiful in what it's trying to... I don't know. It's one of the oddest movies I've ever seen.
Yeah, there's, like I said, when we talked about the robot wearing Harvey Keitel's face, it's a thing in this film where there's violence, there's some stuff, but that comes out of nowhere, and that's
that shocked the shit out of me.
It's like, whoa.
Yeah, and the other thing is the robot design itself is so unusual because we're so used to robots looking a certain way. They usually have a humanoid kind of face, but this just has like two tubes as a face. And it hacks into the computer systems and it uses that kind of its eyes as well. And that was a newer idea in sci-fi at the time. But I want to say that we had this on VHS when I was a kid, and I saw a little bit of it, but it was heavily, heavily edited. This time, seeing the full version was very interesting.
Well, I've again, until this time, I'd never seen this, but I do remember the box art for this.
Yeah.
Because again, it's that robot design, and like I said, I think that suit's really good.
Yeah.
It is definitely an interesting design. Like I said, he said like the little kind of camera head, is different than most robots that you would see, because you'd think that, hell, they would just paint a guy silver and put put some tubes around him or something.
And that is part of the problem, is that it was more expensive to do it this way, and it slowed production down. Because I think it was supposed to be like a $6 million movie, ended up becoming a $10 million movie, whereas, Roger Corman used what already existed. He didn't break any new ground in special effects with Battle Beyond the Stars. He knew what was already established. He wanted robots. Like you said, he'd put guys in silver faces, and use spaceship designs that had already been pre-tested with Star Wars. But this was trying to break new ground, and it just kind of fell on its face. But I do admire what it's trying to do.
Yeah, I just kind of wish that there was a better story to hang all these ideas
on,
as opposed to just kind of a muddled mess of, well, we're doing this now. Okay, we're doing this now. Well, let's do this over here. What the heck?
Yeah, it's from ITC, which is owned by Sir Lou Grade, who had a big successful film their year before and got flush with cash from doing the Muppet movie. Sadly, the next year was a complete fucking disaster for him, because this and Raise the Titanic cost a fortune and lost a shitload of money. Sadly, I think the last movie he did, I think he had to stop doing the Muppet movies because he couldn't afford to do them anymore. And his last film, I can't talk. The last film was Fear of a Black Hat in 1994, which cost about $400,000. That's a big drop.
I think I've even seen that one, but off the top of my head, it's not coming to mind, but I think I've seen that.
Yeah, that's pretty good. So that is it for this episode. Do you like doing the shorter episodes? I mean, I'm sure eventually we'll have more movies than just 3.
Yeah, doing a shorter episode is good. Being able to be concise is wonderful, instead of trying to add things.
Yeah,
stretch things out.
Oh, I didn't know. He did The Dark Crystal as well, which is going to come up in a couple of years for us. I mean, a couple episodes, I guess.
Ooh, yeah. I love The Dark Crystal.
I've never seen it before. I'm really interested.
Oh,
I know. I didn't even see Labyrinth till a few years ago. I'm really far behind on certain movies.
Oh, well, Labyrinth I like, but not as much as Dark Crystal.
Okay.
Dark Crystal's my jam.
All right, so that's what we're going to do with every episode. We're going to be jumping from year to year. So next is 81. We have, I believe, Excalibur, Escape from New York, Dragon Slayer, and something.
Oh, Clash of the Titans.
Clash of the Titans. Thank you. That's why you have a good co-host, because he has a better memory than I am. I'm an old man. He's younger than me, and he's a whippersnapper. All right.
Not by a whole lot.
Catch us on Facebook under Video Night Beyond. Video Night will be changing its look, and the intro music will be different too. Thank you, Andrew, for designing those. And where can we find you outside of this podcast?
I am on Twitter as Musician, MYUZISHION.
All right, everybody, that's it. Have a good night.
Good night.
Hit the lights!